ARK believes the genomic revolution is in its earliest days. Listen in as two of our analysts break down why you should pay lots of attention to this investment opportunity. Reason 1. Gene editing.
Gene editing is accelerating the pace of medical research while also creating potential cures to chronic diseases. Gene editing is a technique in which DNA is added, deleted, or changed in the genome. This happens not only for people, but also in agriculture and diagnostics. Thanks to its lower cost and ease of use, gene editing allows companies to create diagnostics and therapies with curative intent.
Reason 2. Next generation sequencing, or NGS.
So NGS is the bedrock of the genomic revolution. In 2003, we sequenced the entirety of the human genome for the very first time. The idea was that we would be able to use that information to identify patients, detect disease earlier, and match patients to precision therapies. At the end of 2003 in the Human Genome Project, it cost roughly $3 billion to sequence all of the human genome and took around a decade of computation. Flash forward to today, that same sequence costs as little as $600 and only takes hours to assemble. Because of the cost declines, there's been a surge in volume, the amount of sequencing that we do, and the number of clinical areas that are beginning to come online. So we estimate that in 2019, there were about 2.6 million whole human genomes worth of data sequenced. And we imagine that with continued cost declines, and as sequencing begins to approach a $100 price point, we may end up seeing more than 50 to 60 million human genomes worth of data produced every year.
Reason 3. Living therapies.
Living therapies harness the body's biological processes, namely the immune system, to fight off disease. Living therapies are being used primarily for cancer, which is the second cause of death in the United States. However, we see broad applicability for other serious disorders, including things like autoimmune diseases. Although these therapies are twice as expensive as traditional therapies, we believe that because they extend life, the price is justified per life years gained. The addressable market for living therapies in oncology could exceed $200 billion annually, as living therapies continue to get approved for cancer therapy, and even beyond, the addressable market will continue to expand.
Reason 4. Liquid biopsies.
Liquid biopsies are being empowered by NGS, and they're probably one of the most important tools in an oncologist's toolkit of the entire century. What they allow doctors to do is use sequencing to find very small fragments of DNA in the blood and use that to guide cancer care. They're broadly applicable across the entire cancer care continuum, all the way from being used to detect cancer in its earliest stages when it's the most treatable, so that's called screening, to therapy optimization, meaning understanding the mutations that are happening inside of a patient and using that information to match them to the targeted therapy that's most likely to cure them of their disease. And even more importantly, something called recurrence monitoring. When a patient is treated and ends their treatment cycle, whether it's surgery or chemotherapy, it's important to be able to monitor them over time to ensure that the cancer doesn't come back in force. So all of these areas are being completely changed through liquid biopsy. We estimate that in the US alone, those markets served by liquid biopsy could be worth as much as $100 billion by the end of 2025.
Reason 5. Bioinformatics.
Thanks to connected devices like the Apple Watch, the Fitbit, the Oura Ring, the proliferation of health data has been immense. As a result, bioinformatics, which is an interdisciplinary field that intersects biology and computer science, creates tools to understand, store, analyze, and disseminate biological data. Artificial intelligence will further enhance the efficiency of research and development by making connections between the underlying biology and health outcomes. Thinking through it like this, spending on bioinformatics could approach $200 billion by 2024.
Now that you've heard from our team, head to ark-invest.com to learn more.